Good morning. Today we are answering CO14, locating the fractions on the number line. Remember, we're looking at, is our fraction closer to 0, closer to a half, or closer to 1? So let's look at our first page. Let's see, 7/8 is close to 1 because it's close to that 8 over 8. 4/40 is close to 0 because it's close to 0 over 40. 11/18 is closest to a half because that half is 9 over 18. The middle row, 2/5 is going to be closest to a half because a half is 2.5 over 5. 14/25 is closest to a half because a half is 12.5 and the 14 is closest to the 12. 3/16 is closest to 0 because 3 is closer to 0 than it is to that halfway point of 8. On the bottom row, we have 18 over 21 is closest to 1 because 1 whole would be 21 over 21 and 18 is close to the 21. 31/40 is closest to the 1 because 31 is closer to 40 than it is to that halfway mark of 20. And then we have 79 over 1,000. That is going to be closest to 0 because half of 1,000 is 500 and 79 is not close to 500. Any questions on any of those? Anybody not sure why I put the mark point that I put, 0, half, or 1? All right, let's look at our putting it on the timeline, or not timeline, number line. 28 over 50. This one we did together. It's a little bit over that half of 25. So we're going to put it just a little bit over the halfway mark. 8/9 is just shy of being 1 whole. So it's going to be just to the left of the 1. 2/11 is close to the 0. It's a little bit more than 0, so it's going to be to the right. And 8/18. Now halfway to 18 is 9. So the 8 is just smaller than the half, so it's going to be to the left of that halfway mark. Any questions on those? How did you do, Sarah? Okay, good. All right, let's look at our second page. Now the second page table. We are going to see stuff similar to this when it comes time for the test. So you really need to understand what numbers we put to for our fractions to make sure they would be closest to 0, a half, or 1. Your number doesn't have to be exactly the same as my number, but it's going to be in the same area. So I need you guys to stop because it's distracting me. So when we're being silly, it does distract those around us. Okay, I'm seeing you moving around out of the corner of my eye, and it keeps me throwing me off. Okay. All right, Lila, did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. So I put 32 over 1,000 because you just want to make sure that that denominator is huge. So it's going to be 32 is going to look really small in comparison. You could have put 10,000. You could have put 5,000. Just as long as it's a really big number. James?
Even a million.
What?
Even a million.
Yeah. Then for being close to that halfway mark, remember we wanted 32 to be close to half, but not exactly half. So 32 is half of 64. Didn't want to put 64 because that's the halfway mark. So you could put a number close to 64. On the answer key, we put 60. I think when we talked in class, we might have put like 65, I think, or 63, something that's close to 64. And then for the 1 whole would be 32 over 32. So you don't want to put 32 because we don't want it to be exact. So I think in class we put 33. On the answer key it says 35. As long as it's close to that 32, but not exactly 32. Somebody had a hand going up. Was that Adeline? Or are you just stretching? You got a hand? Oh, you're stretching. Okay. Next row. I did 10 over 1,000, 10 over 21, 10 over 11. Does anybody have one that they want to check to see if it works? As long as your number is close to the numbers that I put. James?
26/25.
So I haven't done that row yet. I just did this row. Now let's do that row. So close to 0 would be 2 over 25. Close to a half would be 12 over 25, because the halfway point is 12.5. And close to that 1 whole, on the answer key we have 24 over 25. In class we did an example of 26 over 25. It's close to that 1 whole. It doesn't have to be exactly what I have as long as you're close. Then on the bottom, 5 over 100. I would probably even just keep it even simpler and say 1 over 100, right? That's close to 0. 51 over 100. Could you put 50 over 100? Yes or no? Could we put 50 over 100?
No.
Why not? Kellen? Because that would be exact. And the direction says, but not equal to. So you can't have it the exact halfway mark. So if you put 50 over 100 on the test, that would be wrong, because that's exactly a half. So you'd want to do 49 or 51, something close but not exact. Adeline. Yeah, I talked about that. We did that as a class. So that's close to 25, right? So in the answer key it said 24. In class we said 26. It doesn't have, there's not just one answer. So as long as it's close. And then for the last one I did 99 over 100. Okay, could I do 100 over 100? No, because that would be exactly 1 whole. Any questions on our table? Sarah, did that make sense as I was going through it? I'm just checking in with you because you weren't here. James, stop tapping. Thank you. All right, let's look at our review now. For the review, 2 equivalent fractions to 9/10. So I multiplied by that 2 scale factor. 9 times 2 is 18, 10 times 2 is 20. Then I multiplied by the 3 scale factor. 9 times 3 is 27, 10 times 3 is 30. You could have multiplied by 10 and gotten 90 over 100. As long as you're multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number, that scale factor, they're being multiplied by the same number, it will work. Does anybody have one that they aren't sure if it works or not? Next one, another 2 equivalent fractions, 15 over 6. I multiplied by 2 and got 30 over 12. I multiplied by the scale factor of 3 and got 45 over 18. I could have divided by 3 and gotten 5 over 2. Remember, you can simplify down, you can multiply up as long as you're doing the same thing to the numerator and denominator. Is there any that anybody wants me to check to see if it works? Lila. Okay, we haven't gotten down there yet. Sorry, I was talking about equivalent fractions. We're getting down. Okay, so let's just take it one row at a time. Now, simplest form, 20/36 should be simplified down to 5/9. 18/15 is simplified down to 6/5. 21 over 28 is simplified down to 3/4. Any questions on simplifying? All right, now converting mixed to improper to a mixed number. 12/5 becomes 2 and 2/5. 28/3 becomes 9 and 1/3. Then mixed to improper would be 3 and 4/7 becomes 25/7. Any questions about improper and mixed numbers converting? All right, now subtracting and adding and multiplying and dividing with those negative numbers. 9 minus 11 is -2. -3 plus 5 is 5. Negative 3 times negative 11 is 33. And 20 divided by negative 4 is negative 5. Any questions on those? Now for our rounding. Rounding to the nearest tenth. That 10th place has a 5. So I look after it. There's a 9. So I know I round up. So that 0.591 becomes 0.6. You could put those 2 zeros after it, and that would be fine. Just remember that everything that comes after it turns to zeros. Rounding 5,741 to the nearest thousand. That 5 is in the thousands place. After it is a 7. So I round that 5 up. Everything after it turns to zeros. So 5,741 turns to 6,000. Lila, what was your question about the rounding? Yes. Yep. So you don't have to put those zeros after it, but you definitely can when it's decimal places. When it's the thousands place, you have to put the zeros after it. Otherwise, you would be saying 5,000 rounds down to 6. We have to put the zeros to show that it's 6,000. Any other questions? All right, if you are watching this at home, if you have any questions, make sure you see me. I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.